Okay, today we're gonna be talking about work-appropriate makeup that isn't boring, okay? I get questions from people all the time how to kind of like zhuzh up their work-appropriate eye makeup with color or texture or something without it being inappropriate, you know? Or feeling like, I don't know, like it doesn't fit the environment or something. So first let's talk about like what's work appropriate, okay? We pretty much all probably jump to neutrals. I'm gonna pop in a couple of photos of things that I would consider to be like work appropriate makeup looks. This look from Sydney Sweeney is gorgeous, okay? I'm pretty sure this is Melissa Hernandez, shout out. She's absolutely incredible. She does Sydney's makeup all the time. Really beautiful, soft, smoky eye, but it looks professional, okay? It's not like so overdone, it's soft, it's pretty, but it really makes the eyes pop. Then we have this look by, I'm pretty sure it's Patrick Ta, looks like Patrick, on Gigi Hadid, which is very similar. It's a neutral, you know, she's got a beautiful wing on. She's got that really beautiful like lower lash line wing that's helping to kind of like emphasize the eyes and create a little bit of a cat eye, but the wing isn't overdone. It's not huge, you know what I mean? But of course it's neutral. One thing that you want to keep in mind, especially when you're trying to incorporate color, is to stick to a range, a color range that is around your skin tone. Not much darker, not much lighter. I actually talk about this in this video. I think it's like how to look effortlessly glam or something like it's something along those lines. I go into depth about this concept in this video, so it would be really helpful for you to check that out if you're interested in like an in-depth description of like how to look like you're not trying too hard with your makeup. A really great example of this is this beautiful look on Giselle Bundchen, where she has like, it's pretty natural, you know, but she has color on the lid. It's just like very, very similar in value to her skin tone. So if I squint at it, it's not like jumping out, you know, it's not like super, super dark or super, super light next to her skin. It's kind of like playing off of the colors in her lips and on her cheeks. It's like this really pretty lilac shade on her skin tone. And then obviously she has like impactful lashes, which looks beautiful, but it's not over the top. It's not like making me go, oh my God, like what makeup are you wearing right now? Like chill, you know what I mean? Not that I would ever do that because that's not me. So really quick, I'm going to create just like a very basic neutral eyeshadow look. Basic on my eyes, something that is work appropriate, something to work as our base, and we're gonna build off of that. I'm gonna show you how you can incorporate color and texture into your makeup, your eye makeup, without it being too much. So I'm just gonna pick up this bronzing shade from my Etude Contour palette using my Rephr 15 mini brush. This is a great color because it's somewhere in between the color that I used for my bronzer and my contour. So I'm just going to place this in my crease just above where the skin naturally folds and define my eye socket a little bit. So just like a little bit of contouring. And I don't want this to be too dark. I don't want this to overwhelm my eye, especially since my coloring, my skin tone is pretty fair, fair to light. I have very light hair. So a really great way to start is to know what shape is most flattering on you. So whether it's like your eyes are a little bit more round and you like to emphasize that, or you like to create a little bit more of a cat eye effect, just understanding like where you want to contour, where you want the emphasis of your eye contour to be. So I have a lot of room between like the bottom of my eyebrow and where my actual crease is. I like to push this area back so that it doesn't look like it's kind of like hanging down over my lid, and it just kind of opens up my eyes a little bit. So that's where I'm starting. Okay, same thing on my lower lash line. I'm gonna use my Rephr 02 brush. I'm gonna use that same shade and just do a little bit of contouring on my lower lash line. Anyone who watches my channel regularly will know why I'm doing this. It just has to do with my particular eye anatomy. I'm pushing this area of my eye back so that it doesn't make the hollow of my under eye look any more hollow. A little bit more uniform. It also just kind of like helps to shape the eye and balance it with the upper part. Okay? So you can see This pushing this, making this a little bit darker, pushes this area back. It brings this area forward. See? So it looks a little less like bulbous or eye baggy, you know what I mean? Okay, here's our base, all right? So we've shaped the eye. This is like the basic shape that I pretty much always go with because I find it to be most flattering on my eye. Okay, let's talk about color. So like I mentioned, it's going to be a lot easier to work color into your work appropriate makeup look if it's a little bit closer to the value of your skin tone. Now, what does value mean? Value means the depth of my skin tone, okay? So for instance, if I have like a super bright palette like this, I'm very fair, so this blue is going to be pretty blue on me, okay? So that blue is going to look like very intense on my skin tone. It's going to really stand out clearly. You know, it looks very, very blue on my skin because I'm very fair. Things look much more saturated on my skin tone. And because I have fair coloring, it's going to stand out even more, right? So if you have deeper skin, this blue may not, especially if you're not using like a white eye primer or something along those lines, this blue is going to be closer to the value of your skin if you have a deep skin tone. So it's not going to look as saturated. It's not going to be as like overwhelming. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is like saturation in general, brightness, okay? Like how bright, how pigmented is a color. So for instance, this orange, while it might be a little bit closer to my skin in value, it's still quite intense. Okay, it's very neon colored, or I don't know how well you can see on camera. It looks very neon here. It's looking a little bit more muted on the monitor, but a color like this is still going to be very impactful. Okay, those bright neon colors are going to be very overwhelming. I would personally avoid those when it comes to eyeshadow because you're going to be covering a larger surface. So if you want to experiment with more neon colors or brighter colors, depending on your skin tone, I would stick to something like an eyeliner. I have these beautiful liquid eyeliners from Dolce & Gabbana. Blue, this kind of like periwinkle, and also green. The green is a little bit more muted. It's like slightly more khaki actually, but that blue is really, really beautiful. But see how when you squint, the blue kind of like disappears into my skin tone. It's just like a little bit less intense on my skin tone, whereas this color might look like really intense on someone with deeper skin. The green, in my opinion, is great for someone with my coloring or my skin tone value because it's not a super neon green. It's more of like a muted forest green. I guess it looked a little bit more khaki in the monitor. This is really great. This is a really great way to incorporate color. One thing you can do is just like create just a small wing, a small colorful wing. So for instance, say we use the green one, which is, what is this? That's my line in 04. I dropped it on my phone. That's my line, waterproof eyeliner in 04. We just create a tiny little wing right at the outer corner of the eye. Okay, nothing too intense, just a little guy. And then just applied like a little bit of mascara and I don't know, highlighter in the inner corner or something. Can you see how, based on my coloring, this green, you can see it, you have a sense of it, but it's not this like overwhelming color in your face. It's also playing really nicely off of the natural green in my eyes and also the minty shade that I have going on in my earrings. But if I zoom you out from afar, you're not really noticing that it's green. You're not really noticing that color. It's not standing out or distracting from my face while I'm speaking. Another way that I love to incorporate color is by putting a pop of color in the waterline. The same tricks are going to apply, right? So you want to keep in mind the value of your skin tone and how that color is going to work off of it. If you're more fair-skinned and you want to play around with neons, I feel like this is a really great way to do. Or pastels, I would say. Maybe like pastels are a little bit more work friendly. Neons can be just like kind of overwhelming. It's just going to depend on how it ends up looking on your skin. So make sure you swatch it on your hand or something so that you can see like how much does it pop on my skin tone. For example, I just recently wore this makeup look where I did this like kind of soft brown eyeliner, which may be a little bit intense for work, kind of depends on like where you work. But I placed this beautiful like teal shade in my waterline. which played really nicely with my coloring, and it just kind of like added a little extra something to the makeup look, but it's not overwhelming. From afar, you don't even see it. It's not until you kind of like get up close that you see this beautiful like teal color that's just kind of like a hint. It's just a hint. It's just saying like, it's popping up and saying hi when you get real close, you know? Now this isn't to say that fair to light skin can only use like pastel colors or lighter colors. You absolutely can incorporate, and one of the best ways to incorporate color is by using like a navy instead of, if you have like if you do like a regular liquid eyeliner, a navy one, or like a dark maroon or a dark green, or even in your waterline or on your lower lash line, incorporating kind of like those darker colors in the areas that you're usually darkening up, right? So usually we're using like a black for a liquid liner. This goes for any skin tone. You can replace that with something like burgundy or forest green or navy blue. That's a great way to just kind of like mix things up a little bit and kind of like dip your toes into experimenting with color without feeling like super overwhelmed. Damn, these eyeliners are really, really good. They're not going anywhere. I like that. All right, let's talk, I was gonna say waterproof. Let's talk eyeshadow, okay? Because you don't just want to keep in mind color, you also want to keep in mind texture. Obviously, matte is probably one of your best bets, especially if you're going for like neutral looks, you know? You can get away with putting a little bit of, is that an eyelash? Oh, it's so tickly. Textures, okay? Check this out. I keep picking up this ColourPop palette. What is this? This is ColourPop, wait, right? ColourPop? Yeah, ColourPop BT21. It was some collaboration. Beautiful colors. Look at this. This? Not exactly work appropriate. Very glittery, okay? Even though it's close to the value of my skin, it's basically glitter. Like, that's glitter. I would say that that is not exactly work appropriate. So glitter shadow, probably not, probably not. Another example, Danessa, How I Love You, but these like multi-chrome or duochrome eyeshadows are so foiled, like so foiled. And I mean, they're fantastic. They're absolutely fabulous. Look at that. It's like, are you kidding me? Ugh, I love it so much. But it's probably like the more foil something has in it is probably just going to be a little bit too intense for work, you know? Now, one thing you can do, again, depending on your skin tone, this color would look beautiful on deep skin. It looks beautiful on every skin tone, but especially on deep skin, you could probably get away with it a little bit more. One thing you can do is just kind of like shear it out, okay? So I swiped it. Now this is what's left on my finger. Okay, so just using like a much smaller amount makes a really big difference. It still has like a beautiful sheen to it, but it's just like, there's just a hint of it now on my skin tone. Okay, so I would say personally, probably for work and for my skin tone, this is still a little bit too intense. But if you have like a more medium, deep skin tone, just using the tiniest amount. A lot of it has to do with the amount that you're actually applying to your skin. And this is something that I'm going to show you today. But first, let's talk about some formulas that are a little bit more appropriate, okay? Lisa Eldridge Queen, okay? Lisa Eldridge is my queen. She has some of the most... This little guy popped out. She has some of the most beautiful formulas in her eyeshadows. For instance, we have this one right here, which is a little bit more on the shimmery side, right? So a little bit more foiled in this formula. However, if you really blend it out, and these are blendable, you can really kind of tone it down and make it a little bit more work appropriate, okay? She also has like more, what are they called? Velvet Top Coat Metallic. Yeah, so Top Coat's like a glittery metallic. This is the metallic one. And then Velvet, where they are somewhere between like a satin and a matte, where they're incredibly soft and blendable. Okay, maybe this isn't the best example because it's like a little bit more of a gray color. But this one, where's this one? This one's Velvet. Let's do this one. This is a beautiful color that would probably work best for more like tan, medium, and deep skin. in the sense that I'm talking about, but look at how much you can sheer that out, you know? This is her Velvet formula, which is, like I said, somewhere between a matte and a satin, and it just kind of like melts into your skin. So if you're looking for a formula that's going to be a little bit more work appropriate, that's the kind of formula that I am talking about. The new Danessa Myricks Groundwork palettes, that's another one that has a really, really beautiful formula that's easy to work with. They come with kind of like it's like a pomade that's somewhere between a cream and a matte, and then a matte color eyeshadow if you want to set it. Oh, and Viseart. Viseart has beautiful, beautiful formulas. They're extremely soft. This is their Coish Étendu. Beautiful colors. Obviously a colorful eyeshadow palette. However, if I swatch these for you, it also has some duochrome shades. Look at how soft that is. Soft and blendable. So this is what I want to show you today, how you can incorporate color into your eyeshadow. So if we're looking at this palette, we're looking at my skin tone and some of the colors that we already have going on in my makeup. I've got like a little bit more of a peachy kind of situation going. Some of the colors that are closest to my skin tone in value, this and this, also working very nicely with the colors that I already have going on in my makeup. I think that purple color would be so gorgeous because it really did like sheer out very nicely. But I think I'm gonna stick to these. In particular, this shade right here, which has a really beautiful like coral to like almost teal blue shift to it. They're not named, unfortunately, but really, really stunning. But that super soft formula that can blend out really, really nicely. You can obviously build it up to make like a super intense impact if that's what you're going for. So there's a versatility in this palette. So you've probably heard that you can spritz your brush with a little bit of a setting spray to make a pigment more intense. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is ooh, what happened? This little guy got messed up. I'm going to use kind of a large brush. This is the Rephr 01 Max. And I'm going to pick up this eyeshadow, working it into the bristles. I'm gonna make sure to tap it off so I'm not going in with too much, I don't get fallout. Okay. And I am going to buff this all over my lid. So I'm starting with the center, kind of pressing, and then gently buffing all over the lid and making sure to kind of like blend into that matte crease just so there isn't any gaps. Okay, can you see what I'm talking about when you shear something out like crazy? When I'm looking straight ahead, this is giving actually very much the vibe that I got from that Giselle picture. When I'm looking straight ahead, you have just like a sense, you know, as I turn, as I blink, as I'm looking around, you have a sense of this beautiful coral and kind of like lilac color that's happening on my lid that just kind of like ties really beautifully into the rest of my makeup. It gives a little bit of pop of color. It offsets the green in my eyes really nicely, but it's not overwhelming. It's not too much. In fact, when my eyes are open, I'm kind of looking around. You don't even necessarily notice it. You know, it's just something that like kind of catches in the light and adds like a little bit more of a fun pop to the eye. So incorporating colors that you already have going on in your makeup, like something that is very close to your lip color or your cheek color, is always going to be extremely flattering. It's always going to tie in nicely. It's not going to look out of place. That's one of the safest bets when you're trying to experiment with color in something that is like, you know, an office environment. Now, just as an example, I want to give you like a pretty intense swatch of this so that you can see how much you can build it up. So this is with my finger. I'm just going to place down a lot more pigment. And then here's an example using one of my favorite brushes from Sigma. This is the E54 brush. I'm picking up the pigment, tapping it off a little bit, and then just spritzing it with like any setting mist. I have like a million of them on my desk. This is the Makeup Forever one. Just something to kind of like ground the pigment. See how that transforms that pigment into like this super foiled sheen. Okay, just gives it a little bit more intense sheen to it. And while that's beautiful, That's something that I think you should avoid if you were looking to like experiment with color in a work appropriate environment, you know? Okay, here are a couple examples of how to incorporate color with like a deeper color, with a deeper eyeliner on your eyes, whether it's lining like the lower lash line or creating a little bit of a wing. We have Dark Forest, I think? No, Night Forest from Lisa Eldridge, which is a really beautiful forest green. It's got more of a khaki tone to it, so it's a little bit more on the neutral side. So it's not going to stand out as much. Right in the middle, we have this one from Lancome, which is Vision Ivy. It's a metallic shade. You can't really see it. It's not too intense. And while it is a little bit brighter than the Lisa Eldridge one, which is a slightly darker and more muted, the color payoff is not like too much. This one is maybe a little bit intense for someone, especially with very fair skin, because it really stands out. But it might look a little bit less intense on someone with more medium to deep skin, which is Victoria Beckham. This is her satin liner in, Bordeaux. Bordeaux, which makes sense. Hello, burgundy. Beautiful. So those are some really nice deeper colors that you can incorporate in your eyeliner. For example, I'm going to go in with the one from Lancome, and I'm just going to create kind of the same wing that we did with the Dolce & Gabbana eyeliner, which was much lighter. So I'm just going to do that little thing right there. And then I'm taking this brush from Sigma. I think a thinner, smaller wing is just like a little bit more work appropriate. And as we build this up, you'll see a little hint of the color, but it's not going to look like too intense. Okay, so I'm just going to build this up in the outer corner of the eye, blending into those lashes. Okay, so up close, obviously you can see just like the slightest hint of a beautiful dark teal, which complements so beautifully the duochrome or multi-chrome that we have on the eyes, because some of the reflect in the eyeshadow is very similar to this teal shade. It's just much lighter. Okay, and the eyeliner itself is metallic. So we have like this really beautiful, just kind of like reflect happening all around the eyes. We're using the typical makeup tricks, just a little bit of contouring, a slight shimmer on the lid, a little bit of an eyeliner, but we're just adjusting them very slightly to have a little bit more fun, to make it a little bit more playful. All right, guys, I just popped on some mascara just to kind of like finish off the look. Can you see how from where you are, you can't even really tell that like a ton of color is happening on my eyes, especially with the wing. It probably just looks like a soft black or a soft kind of like gray tone, you know, and you can see just like a little bit of shimmer and hint of color on the lids. But again, it ties in so beautifully with the rest of my makeup. It's not overpowering and it doesn't look inappropriate. So just to recap, keep in mind how color is going to react to your skin tone, okay? The value of your skin. I highly suggest checking out that video that I talked about. It goes into depth as to why this is. Keep in mind your texture. You do not want to go for like super glittery or foiled. It's just going to look like too much. But there are some of those products that are like maybe slightly more on the foiled side, or can be built up to be that you can sheer out, like what I have on my lids. Keep in mind that what base you use is going to make an impact if you're using a much lighter, like if I were to use a white base, this would be way more intense. I used a sheer eye primer. I don't know if I mentioned this. I just used NARS eye primer. I usually use Urban Decay, something sheer, close to your skin tone so that the color does not pop too much. And you only need a little bit. You don't need to build it up a ton. If you are going to use colors that are a little bit brighter, keep them to your waterline. It's less surface area. It's closer to the eyes. It's a little bit more hidden, okay? So it's one of those things that isn't going to like pop out and be looking crazy. Because it's just like, it's kind of like tucked away. It's a little bit hidden in your eyes. You have to get up real close to really see it. And it's a really great way to make your eyes, like your overall eye color pop. And just remember, if you're a beginner, if you're afraid of color in general and you're trying to dip your toes in, start with things that are a little bit darker. Maybe rather than using your regular old black eyeliner, black, brown, or gray eyeliner, you experiment with something like this, like a forest green, or you go in with like something a little bit more burgundy colored. Depending on your skin tone and your eye color, it can really, really make such like a beautiful impact and offset the color of your eyes to make them look brighter. And it just kind of creates a little bit of that like, is something a little bit different? Like there's something a little bit different and I like it, you know? Without taking too much attention, without going in and wearing like crazy neon eyeliner or like extremely foiled duochrome eyeshadow up to your eyebrow, you know, where you might feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially in a work setting where you want people to be taking you seriously. And again, it's going to depend on like what kind of office you're working in or what work you do. Me personally, I've worked in 2 offices, and the second one was a little bit more appropriate probably for what I did because it was a cosmetic manufacturer. But I wore my first office job, I was a graphic designer and I wore crazy makeup, okay? Crazy makeup. I didn't even think twice about it. So I'm personally a huge proponent of expressing yourself artistically the way that you want to. But for those of you who, you know, might feel a little bit intimidated because you're a lawyer or maybe you're an accountant or something like that and you love makeup but you just don't want to like stick out like a sore thumb, I hope that these little tips helped you. Let me know in the comments down below if they did, or if there's anything that you want me to go more in depth on, or if you have any little tricks. I know I didn't mention like colorful mascara. That is an option, but I feel like that, because your lashes are usually such a big part of your, like, they just like frame your eyes, you know? It can be a little bit much, but you let me know if that's how you like to incorporate color into your eye makeup. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and comment and like and all the things that help me out. Let me know I can never say that. I can never say it. Let me know what you want to see next. And I shall see you in the next one. Hopefully. Here's my clicker. Farewell.